The story kicks off with our main character tearing it up on his red motorcycle. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing, and he quickly snags it from his pocket to answer. He introduces himself as Wang Han, and a woman on the other end says she's expecting his child. Our boy doesn't believe a word of it and just hangs up on her. Not giving the call a second thought, he gets his head back in the game and focuses on the road. He shows off his skills weaving through traffic like a pro. In no time, he pulls up to the shop to pick up his orders. Our protagonist overhears some whispers and asks a chubby coworker what he's mumbling about. The extra explains that the daughter of the Su family is about to marry the son of the richest man in town. He shows a picture of the girl and says her fiancé is not just ugly, but a total piece of work. At that moment, our guy grabs his phone and finds the woman's face strangely familiar. He snatches the phone from his coworker to get a better look at the picture. He then remembers she's the drunk girl who tried to make a move on him once. With that, the phone call from earlier clicks into place, and he realizes it might not have been a prank after all. A flashback to 1 month ago begins, showing the woman from the photo in a hotel hallway. She feels dizzy and suspects someone slipped something into her drink. The young woman is so out of it that she mixes up the room numbers and ends up at the wrong door. Seeing the door ajar, she wonders if she forgot to lock it when she left. Our protagonist was drinking alone, contemplating his life. He complains that his aura was too intense, which is why he went back to being a delivery driver. Just then, the Su family Harris stumbles into the room and collapses onto his bed. The woman asks who he is and pleads for help, saying she feels really sick. Our young man turns beet red, completely captivated by the girl's beauty. She gets closer and asks for help again, while he wonders if this is all just a dream. He remembers how tightly he gripped those bed sheets that day. The memory fades, and his colleague asks why he's so spaced out over a photo. The chubby coworker starts roasting him, saying he's spinning another one of his tall tales. The other coworkers crack up, remembering how he's claimed to be everything from an arms dealer to a trust fund kid. They ask why such an important guy is delivering food, but he just lights a cigarette and says they wouldn't get it. His colleague scoffs, telling him his lies are getting more ridiculous by the day. Suddenly, a super fancy red sports car pulls up right in front of the delivery center. The delivery guy's jaws are on the floor, completely blown away by the luxury ride. A moment later, the door opens, and a foot in an elegant high heel steps out of the car. To everyone's surprise, the woman who emerges from the car is none other than the Su family Harris. The young woman stares down the delivery guys with a serious look, showing off her stunning beauty. The extras are completely smitten, with literal hearts in their eyes. Then, one of the guys realizes the woman looks just like the girl from the photo earlier. They all gasp, realizing it's really her, and wonder what the Harris is doing there. The young woman walks straight up to Wang Han and asks why he didn't answer her calls. His colleagues are gobsmacked, unable to believe that our boy actually knows her. Our protagonist puts out his cigarette and acts cool, casually asking what's up. Without beating around the bush, the young woman reveals she's expecting a child, and the baby is his. Everyone freaks out, questioning if they heard right, that she's having Han's baby. Our young man then asks the woman if she's absolutely sure she hasn't made a mistake. The young woman then gives him a serious look and tells him to come with her to the hospital. She tells him to get in the car, and his coworkers yell at him not to just stand there. Our boy decides to go and asks a colleague to cover for him with the manager. As soon as he gets in the vehicle, the two speed off through the city streets. Inside the car, our guy is still skeptical, and the girl asks if he really thinks she'd make something like this up. With a serious look, he says he'll take responsibility for both of them if the baby is his. Hearing this, the Su family Harris glances at him as she drives the luxury car. The young woman scoffs at him and asks how he plans to take responsibility on a delivery driver's salary. Our guy leans back in his seat and says it's no problem, as he earns an honest living. She then reminds him that she's from the Su family, but our young man says he doesn't care about that status nonsense. Annoyed by his response, the woman slams on the brakes. The car screeches to a halt, sending our protagonist's forehead straight into the windshield. He yells, asking if she did that on purpose, but the woman just retorts about the Su family. A short time later, the red car parks in front of a large hospital. The young woman gets out of the vehicle, and our protagonist follows her into the hospital. The young woman warns him to drop the whole responsibility talk, saying he'll be in hot water if her family finds out. But our young man gets fired up and yells that he'll absolutely take responsibility if the child is his. She ignores him and tells him to come inside the hospital so they can get this over with. The two walk in silence down the hallway, and the Harris tells him to wait for a moment. Our protagonist finds it weird that they're in front of the surgery room and asks why they're there. The Su family Harris doesn't answer and just says she's going into the room. Our guy is completely shocked, unable to believe what he just heard. Grabs her by the arm and desperately asks if she's serious. The The young woman says he can't possibly support them, but our guy insists that money is no object. Just then, a nurse appears and calls for Soo-ki to begin the procedure. He grabs her shoulder, but her mind is already made up. The Harris then pulls away and walks into the operating room, leaving our young man behind. Alone in the hallway, he feels powerless, unable to do anything to stop her. Inside, the young woman is already lying on the gurney while the doctors prepare to start. We can see it in her expression. She really doesn't want to go through with this. The doctor then prepares a syringe and tells the young woman not to worry, as it will all be over soon. Even so, she goes along with it and closes her eyes. But at the last second, she raises her hand, and with a glimmer in her eye, asks the doctor to wait. Outside, our boy waits with a sense of resignation, thinking he can't do anything if she doesn't want the baby. Suddenly, the door opens, and to his surprise, she walks out of the operating room. Our protagonist immediately spots her. He rushes over asking how she's feeling. The young woman says she's a little tired and asks him to drive her home in her car. Our young man agrees in a heartbeat, bragging that he can fly anything, even a fighter jet. With that, the two leave the hospital, and he gets behind the wheel of the red sports car. While they're driving through a fancy neighborhood, our guy's phone starts ringing. He answers the call and asks what the person on the other end of the line wants. Someone informs him about an event and says that an important president will be following his orders. A little later, they arrive at a huge mansion, and our boy lets her know they're there. He then looks over at her and notices she doesn't seem well. Soo-ki says she's home and tells him to leave so her family won't see him, but our guy says she looks weak and wants to walk her to the door. But the young woman refuses his help and tells him to stay out of her business as our young man waves goodbye. She walks towards the house. Soo-ki's heel suddenly twists on the uneven ground. The woman cries out and starts to fall forward as our protagonist watches it all unfold. Our guy reacts instantly, and with a focused look, he dashes to help her. In one swift motion, he catches her in his arms just in time to prevent the fall. Our guy then calls her clumsy, but the young woman gets annoyed and asks what he said, so the young man repeats it. The Soo family Harris grabs our boy's jacket tightly. She pinches our protagonist's arm, but even so, our boy doesn't back down. He takes the opportunity to hold her. He then lifts her into a princess carry and complains that her pinch was way too strong. The scene then shifts to the interior of the grand mansion of the Harris's family. Once inside, he sets her down on the couch and kneels to take care of her injured ankle. The young woman says she doesn't need help and tells him to leave, but our guy insists and tells her to stop moving. At that moment, the sound of approaching heels echoes through the large room. Suddenly, the door opens and the two are caught off guard in the living room. Two women appear at the door and walk in on the suspicious scene between them. The Harris's mother, along with her best friend, demands to know what's going on. Our protagonist stands up and explains that the young woman just twisted her ankle. To avoid trouble, the young woman says he's her boyfriend and just came to help her. Hearing our guy is completely shocked and speechless. Soo-ki's mother is also in shock and yells, asking if that delivery boy is really her boyfriend. Her mother screams and asks her daughter what is happening in that room. She then points at our young man and asks who that delivery boy is. Soo-ki just remains silent with a very serious expression. Then the young woman says it was a joke, and that our young man only helped her with her ankle. Her mother reminds her that she's marrying into the Kyun family and can't afford to make any mistakes. Our protagonist then asks what's wrong with being a delivery driver. The woman calls him a nobody and tells him to keep dreaming if he thinks he'll ever be with her daughter. With that, our boy is furious about what he just heard from that lady. To avoid any more drama, the young woman thanks him and asks him to leave. Our young man then turns to leave as the Harris's friend watches him go. The mother tells the friend to take the young woman to her room and to clean up where the boy stepped. In the bedroom, the friend asks what her relationship is with that delivery driver. The friend says she might be able to fool her mother, but not her, because she saw the way she looked at him. Without hesitation, Soo-ki reveals to her friend that she's expecting our boy's child. Upon hearing the news, the friend is completely shocked and in disbelief. The friend asks if she's serious and why with a delivery driver, but the young woman says she drank too much and it was an accident. The young woman questions how she'll hide this from the Kyun family, but Soo reveals she's already made up her mind and is keeping the baby. At this, the friend freaks out and yells that she's completely lost her mind. The young woman then explains that she talked to the guy, and he promised he would take full responsibility. The friend reminds her that she's from the Soo family, and that the delivery driver has nothing to offer. She says she'll handle this herself and asks why her friend came back. The young woman explains that her grandfather came for an event, and she just came with him. Soo-ki's friend gets an idea. She tells Soo-ki that she's had an idea. She suggests the young woman claim the delivery driver forced himself on her, but she thinks the idea is horrible. The scene then changes, and we see our protagonist walking alone through the streets of the neighborhood. Our young man complains that there are no taxis in this fancy area as a black car approaches. The vehicle then pulls up right next to our boy, who eyes the situation. Our guy gets a little suspicious of the car's sudden approach. An old man in a suit gets out of the car and greets our young man as Wung Master. Just watches. The old man then explains that he's there to take him to the evening's auction event. Our young man remembers his grandfather had mentioned that event. He says he needs a shower and some new clothes before going to the fancy party. The black limousine speeds off through the city streets. A little while later, they arrive at a banquet hall crowded with rich and important people. Now dressed in an elegant suit, our boy is impressed by the number of people there. Suddenly a familiar voice calls his name and he turns to see who it is. To his surprise, it's Suki's friend who recognizes our boy. She questions him and asks if by any chance he's also working as a waiter. Our young man tries to say no, but the girl doesn't let him speak. Losing her patience, the young woman grabs the sleeve of our protagonist's suit. She then drags him to a more private corner so they can talk alone. The girl warns him that Suki is her best friend and threatens him if he doesn't step up for the baby. Our boy is shocked because he thought Sue had terminated the pregnancy. The friend yells that she decided to keep the baby, and our young man is stunned. He then wonders if she really didn't go through with the procedure at the hospital yesterday. Angrily, the young woman threatens him again, saying she'll make him regret it if he tries to run. To show she's serious, she stomps on his foot with her high heel. Our protagonist yells in pain as the young woman walks away. At that moment, a man on stage announces that the auction event is about to begin. Our boy thinks he needs to wrap things up here quickly so he can go find her and figure out what's going on. A woman in a suit and glasses approaches and greets him as Wung Master. She introduces herself as his assistant, Lu Yu, and says she was sent by President Lin. Our young man says the auction is about to start, and tells her to come with him to the main hall. However, someone suddenly enters the hall, causing a commotion. Up at the front, an extra announces that the night's project has already been claimed by the Kyun family. The man twirls his mustache with a smirk and asks everyone to show some respect. He introduces himself as Kyun Lei of the Kyun family and threatens anyone who doesn't cooperate. Our guy asks who the man is, and the assistant explains that he's his biggest rival of the night. Our guy scoffs and asks if that guy thinks he can compete with him, but the assistant explains the Kyun family's plan. He then remembers his coworker talking trash about Suki's finery and realizes he's from that family. With a serious look, our young man finally understands the whole situation. On stage, the auctioneer announces the bidding for Lot 53, the project everyone wants. Without wasting a second, Kyun Lei raises his paddle and offers 5 billion for the major project. The guests are shocked by the high bid and comment that no one would dare challenge the Kyuns. But our protagonist calmly raises his paddle and offers 6 billion. The crowd panics, wondering who the crazy person is who just challenged the Kyun family like that. Everyone whispers that the guy has a death wish and that the Kyuns won't let this insult slide. Annoyed by our boy's audacity, Kyun Lei becomes furious. He stands up enraged and shouts, asking who our young man is and if he's looking for a fight. The rival stands up with his goons and yells that in this city, his family calls the shots. He then grabs our guy by the collar and says no one takes what they want. The man then offers 900 million and threatens our boy if he continues. Our young man just lets out a mocking laugh, completely ignoring his rival's threat. With a confident smirk, he raises his paddle and offers 1 billion for the project. The rival loses his mind and lunges at our guy, trying to throw a punch. But our boy is faster and lands a solid punch right in the man's face. The impact sends the rival flying backward, and our young man asks if that's all he's got. All the goons rush to attack our boy while their boss is already down. Without wasting time, he throws a chair at them. One of them realized it wasn't a good idea to mess with our boy. In a quick and precise move, he takes down another one of the goons. Lying on the floor, the rival screams in fury, asking if our guy really wants to get taken out. Our boy then turns to his rival and confirms that he's the one who's about to get a beatdown. Our young man then leaps toward the rival, who screams in desperation on the floor. With a powerful blow, he hits the rival square on, and a loud bang echoes through the hall. And just like that, the rival is completely knocked out on the floor. After the fight, our young man turns to the audience and asks if anyone else is going to bid. Auctioneer, completely terrified, stammers that there are no more bids. Our boy then tells his assistant to handle the paperwork because he has urgent business to attend to. She's in a luxurious room talking with an old man who is sitting on the sofa. The young woman asks her grandfather why he called her in such a hurry that she missed the auction. With a serious look, the grandfather tells her not to say anything foolish when the person arrives because he doesn't know her. The young woman then wonders what kind of important person would make her grandfather act so cautiously. A man in a suit informs them that the auction is over, but the Kyun family didn't win the project. Surprised, the young woman can't believe they lost and wonders who dared to stand up to them. Then her grandfather says the person they were waiting for has arrived, and the young woman thinks he's very arrogant. She tells her grandfather she's stepping out to make a call to her friend Nanan. Walking down the hall, she thinks that the Kyun family won't be able to cooperate with the sus for a while. Distracted by her phone, the young woman ends up bumping right into our protagonist's chest. She yells at our young man and calls him a stinky delivery boy, asking why it's him again. But she ignores him and walks away while calling her friend to tell her she has important news. At that moment, the young woman's grandfather stands up and greets our young man, who has just arrived. Our boy says he's already handled his business and asks who the woman from earlier was. The old man introduces her as his granddaughter and says she greatly admires the young master and wanted to meet him. The man explains that the marriage alliance between the Kyuns and the Sus will be postponed because of our guy's intervention. Our young man gets curious and asks about Suki's life and if she's ever had any boyfriends. The old man replies that the Su family is strict and that the young woman has never had a boyfriend. With a smile, our young man finally understands everything, but suddenly his phone rings. He notices a call from Su. He answers and the young woman says she wants to see him, so our boy agrees to meet her. Our guy says goodbye to the old man, but the old man tries to bring up his granddaughter again, but he says some other time. She's sitting on a park bench reflecting. With a sad expression, the young woman seems to be deep in thought about her situation. Soon after, our protagonist arrives on his motorcycle at the arranged spot. He stops behind her after seeing that she was sitting down. Our boy sits down next to her and tells her not to worry, because he'll support her. She then looks at him and asks if he really has the means to support them. With a confident look, our young man hugs her and asks why he wouldn't. The young woman points to the expensive watch on his wrist and asks if he knows how much it costs. Our guy identifies the model and the exact price of the watch. She then questions how many years he'd have to work as a delivery driver to buy one. He reassures her, saying that money is no issue and she can have the baby in peace. Suddenly, her phone rings again, interrupting their moment. It's her mother on the line. It's telling her to come back, because her fiancé is waiting to talk about the wedding. The young woman then asks our young man to take her home, and he agrees with a smile. Our boy points to his motorcycle and tells her to hop on so they can go. Speeding through the streets, the two cut through traffic. She leans against our guy's back and closes her eyes, enjoying the moment. They continue their journey at high speed through the bustling city streets. Arriving at the mansion, our boy parks the motorcycle and walks the young woman to the door. At the entrance, the young woman tells her mother she's arrived while our young man stands beside her. Her mother appears, furious, asking where she's been because her fiancé was waiting. She calmly replies that she just went out for a walk around the neighborhood. The woman questions why she brought someone with her, and if she remembers the upcoming wedding. The man on the sofa greets her, and he is introduced as the supposed fiancé from the Kyun family. Suki interrupts the conversation and says to postpone the discussion because the cooperation deal hasn't been finalized. But the fiancé ignores this and says it's a small matter because they can get married first. He thinks to himself that first, he'll get her into bed, and only then will he think about helping her family. The mother then reveals that the Kyuns are going to give them 1 billion to help out, but the young woman tells her to stop. With a determined look, Suki states in no uncertain terms that she will not marry him. The fiancé and her mother are completely shocked by the young woman's sudden declaration. She grabs our guy's arm and says she's already pregnant with his child. The mother is speechless, her eyes wide with disbelief at what she just heard. The woman yells at her daughter, saying he's just a delivery boy, but the young woman asks for more time. The woman yells that her daughter has no shame and prepares to slap her. But our young man grabs the woman's wrist, stopping the slap aimed at his woman. He then asks what's wrong with being a delivery driver, and if he did something wrong to the family. Our guy questions if selling your own daughter for profit isn't the real shameless act. The woman screams for the filthy delivery boy to let her go immediately. The fiancé gets angry and points at Sukyu, insulting her for being with a delivery driver. Enraged, the fiancé says he's been cheated on with a delivery driver and swears he'll finish our young man. Without a second thought, our young man delivers a powerful slap across the man's face. The impact sends the man flying to the floor. He says she's pregnant with his child and asks who gave him the right to insult his woman. Lying on the floor, the fiancé screams in fury and promises he'll make him understand the consequences. Then the man grabs a heavy ashtray from the coffee table to attack. Screaming that he's going to end him, the fiancé charges forward with the object in his hand. With a smirk, our young man tells the girl to stay behind him and she obeys. Effortlessly, our boy dodges the blow. Then our young man lands a powerful punch on the fiancé, who flies backward from the impact. Lying on the floor, the fiancé glares at our guy, who scolds him for daring to touch his woman. Our young man then gets on top of the man and says he's going to teach him a lesson. Without wasting time, he starts delivering a flurry of punches to the fiancé's face, who screams in pain. With a bruised face, the man desperately screams for help while getting beaten. But before he could land another punch, someone yells for him to stop. Suddenly, an elderly man arrives with his entourage and asks who dares to act in such a way. Surprised, the young woman recognizes the man as her grandfather and wonders what he's doing there. The grandfather's group enters the room while the fiancé remains on the floor after the beating. With a serious look, the grandfather reveals that he heard the entire argument that took place in the room. He then turns to his granddaughter and asks if it's true that she's pregnant by the delivery boy. With a serious expression, the young woman confirms the pregnancy to her grandfather without hesitation. The family panics, and the grandfather shouts that the child must be gotten rid of because they can't offend the Chuns. The fiancé then says that even if she gets rid of the child, he will no longer accept her into the Chun family. The young woman's father despairs, saying the Su family is finished because of her actions. The young woman remains silent with a sad expression, listening to her family's harsh words. Suki screams for everyone to stop arguing immediately. She doesn't feel well and ends up fainting. Our young man catches her and tells her not to be afraid, that he'll take her far away. He then picks her up in his arms while her father yells for the delivery boy to let her go. With a look of contempt, our guy questions if they even consider themselves human anymore. He then turns and starts to leave the mansion, carrying the young woman in his arms. Her father tries to stop him, but our young man kicks furniture at them. He then announces that he's taking Su Qi and asks if anyone has a problem with it. The young woman's parents are completely shocked and speechless at our guy's actions. The grandfather and other relatives are also frozen, not knowing what to do. Since no one dares to answer, he just turns and leaves the mansion with her in his arms. Soon after, they arrive at our young man's apartment in a luxury building. Once there, he gently places the young woman on the sofa so she can rest. At that moment, ID card falls out of her purse. Our boy then bends down and picks up the card that fell. He realizes it's her birthday and thinks about how no one in her family remembered. Our guy then decides he's going to show her what he's capable of as her man. 20 minutes pass and Suki continues to rest on the apartment sofa. Finally, the young woman wakes up and sits on the sofa, confused about where she is. Our young man then appears in an apron, offering her a bowl of food. He reveals that he's prepared a special feast just for her. The young woman is captivated by the smell of the food, and our young man brags about his skills. Smile Sukyu asks if he can stop bragging for even a moment. She then pulls out a chair to sit at the table. Then our guy reveals the real surprise, a birthday cake just for her. With a smile on his face, our young man wishes her a happy birthday. The young woman is completely shocked and moved, asking how he found out it was her birthday. Seated at the table, our guy asks if the surprise wasn't incredible, leaving her thoughtful. With tears in her eyes, the young woman is touched by our boy's gesture. Our young man then offers his shoulder for her to cry on, bragging that not even supermodels get to use it. The young woman then starts to laugh, amused by his attempt to comfort her. Our guy then invites her to try the food he prepared for the occasion. She tries the food and confirms that it's absolutely delicious. The table is filled with a variety of dishes, showing our young man's effort. He then tells the young woman to make a wish, and she closes her eyes to concentrate. After the happy moment, our protagonist asks what her plans are for the future. The young woman then questions if he's going to back out of his promise to support her with the baby. He challenges her to marry a delivery driver, and she accepts on the spot, setting the wedding for the next day. With a determined look, the young woman confirms she's not afraid and accepts his proposal. With a satisfied smile, our protagonist says the deal is sealed between them. Suddenly, our boy's phone starts vibrating in the middle of dinner, breaking the mood. He then gets up and says he needs to take the call. Out on the apartment balcony, our young man asks the person what happened. On the other end of the line, his subordinate informs him that an assassin named Hydra is in town to take him out. Calmly, he says he'll take care of it the next day. Meanwhile, Sukyu is sitting on the sofa and also receives an important call. Her friend calls to wish her a happy birthday, and the young woman replies that she was the second person to do so. The friend thinks it was the fiancé, but Sukyu reveals it was our guy who wished her a happy birthday first. She eats another piece of cake. The young woman then reveals to her friend that she's marrying him tomorrow, and that she's at his apartment. Desperate, the friend begs Sukyu to calm down and says she'll find a way to fix the situation. The friend then promises she'll beg her grandfather to help her get out of this crisis. On the balcony, the subordinate reveals that a princess asked where our guy was. Our young man lights a cigarette and angrily asks if the guy revealed his location. The subordinate explains that he was forced to talk because the princess has a very strong temper. With the shocking news, our boy's lighter slips from his hand. Furious, our protagonist yells at the guy on the phone, accusing him of betraying him. The subordinate then pretends the signal is bad and hangs up on him. Unable to do anything, our young man crouches on the balcony, thinking the situation has gotten complicated. Suddenly, his phone vibrates again, and he wonders who's bothering him now. He sees a message from a young woman introducing herself as Lin Qingyun's granddaughter. The young woman proposes a partnership with the Su family and offers to do anything in return. Our protagonist is lost in thought, reading the bold proposal from Lin Qingyun's granddaughter. Soon after, he receives a call from the young woman's grandfather, apologizing for the trouble and saying he can ask for any gift as compensation. He then asks for a rifle and 2 bullets and gives the authority of a project to Sukyue, lying in bed, reading a book. She then receives a message from her friend saying that the big shot accepted the partnership. A smile on her face, Sukyue is very happy with the news. Back at the apartment, our guy sees her sitting and smiling and asks her about it. Our young man then comments that he didn't expect her to have a habit of reading books. He then approaches her and says there are many things she doesn't expect about him. At that moment, our boy gets even closer and Sukyue gets nervous about his actions. But he just grabs a pillow and tells her to rest in bed, that he'll sleep on the couch. Before leaving, our young man warns that reading in bed isn't good for pregnant women, leaving her speechless. Lying in bed, the young woman is embarrassed because she thought he was going to try something with her. The very next morning, the sun rises on a new day in the city. We see our protagonist starting the day with a heavy workout on the apartment balcony. She then appears and sees him training, asking if that's frog style. He explains that the technique is called the dragon coiling hand, but the young woman has never heard of it. Our guy says it's a lethal martial art, and she questions why a delivery driver would learn it. He replies that his father taught him to use martial arts to protect his family, and the young woman agrees with his philosophy. Suki then announces that breakfast is on the table, and our young man is surprised by how thoughtful she can be. She says there's a lot he hasn't noticed yet, and our guy invites her to his place after they eat. The young woman is confused, and our boy explains it's to get the documents for the wedding, leaving the girl thoughtful. Angrily, Suki thinks he's getting scared and confirms that they are getting married today without a second thought. The blue sky indicates that a new day full of events is just beginning for our couple. They leave the apartment. He asks why, and the young woman explains she's afraid his family won't approve of her, but that they'd have no choice with a grandchild on the way. Our guy then questions if she's marrying his family, and the young woman compliments his looks and his style. But she adds that his family background is a little weak, leaving our boy pensive. With a smile, he gets on his motorcycle and jokingly asks if he's not good enough for her. She just scoffs at his teasing and gets on the back of the red motorcycle. Our young man then tells her to hold on tight, and they speed off through the city, speed out of the complex. From a distance, 2 extras watch them. Su Qi's ex-fiancé is furious to learn she spent the night with a delivery driver. The big shot orders his goons to take out our guy and bring him the girl. The guy then accepts the order and says he'll take his men to follow the couple. Meanwhile, our young man continues to ride the motorcycle at high speed through the streets. He then notices in his rearview mirror that a white car is following them closely. With a smirk, our boy notes that someone is tailing him in broad daylight. He then tells Su-Q to go home and get her things because he needs to take care of something. After she agrees, our guy guns the engine to lose their pursuers. A short time later, they arrive in front of her house. The young woman gets off the motorcycle, and our protagonist prepares to leave and handle the problem. He then looks back and sees the goons' white van approaching quickly. Without wasting time, our young man revs the engine and speeds away to lure the enemies. With an incredible maneuver, he makes a sharp turn and skids on the asphalt with the motorcycle. The motorcycle's tire screeches on the pavement and he comes to a stop. After shaking the goons, he stops in front of a building and looks up at a balcony. Our guy then confirms his suspicions when he sees the assassins lying in wait. With a confident smile, our guy says it's time to stretch his legs and that he'll take care of all of them at once. Our young man then enters the building and heads up the stairs to the floor where the assassins are hiding. Arriving at the apartment, he finds a case with a sniper rifle and begins to assemble it on the table. Holding the weapon, our boy compliments Lin, saying he really knows how to get things done. Suddenly, our protagonist notices something strange on the bed and is confused. At that moment, Suki's friend comes out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel and screams when she sees our young man in the room. She points at our young man and yells, asking what a delivery driver is doing in her house. However, there's a laser sight on her forehead. The protagonist notices and yells for her to get down immediately. Just then, a bullet shatters the window, and our boy tackles her to the ground to protect her from the shot. The young woman tries to break free and curses at him while he keeps her on the ground for her safety. He then looks at the scared young woman and tells her to calm down. Our protagonist then warns her not to scream, or she could end up getting seriously hurt. He then grabs the rifle and aims out the window, ready to hunt down the assassin. With a single shot, our young man fires at the building where the enemy was hiding. The bullet flies at high speed towards the shooter on the other balcony. But suddenly, another shot comes their way, and our guy yells for her to get down. He saves her from the shot once again. Our boy picks up a dress from the floor and realizes there's someone on the other side as well. Besides the assassin Hydra, he remembers that the van that was following him hasn't been dealt with yet. Adding this shootout to mix, he comments that the day is full of unwanted guests. Without wasting time, our guy aims again with the scared young woman right behind him. Kneeling on the floor, our young man fires at the shooter on the other balcony. The bullet flies at high speed toward the target, shattering the window. The projectile hits the assassin dead on, knocking him backward instantly. We see the enemy lying lifeless on the floor after our boy's perfect shot. The young woman then questions him about the situation, and he says that Hydra character is history. But suddenly our guy senses imminent danger and goes on high alert. Another bullet comes flying toward them through the broken window. We then see that another shooter was hidden in a different spot, aiming at them. The new enemy fires again at our protagonist without hesitation. He quickly shoves the young woman onto the sofa to get her out of the line of fire, and she curses at him. Our young man then picks up the bullet casing that got stuck in the wall and examines it. He notices a hexagram on the bullet tip and explains that it's a mark of the Abe's organization. With that, he turns to her and asks when she picked a fight with the Europeans. Our protagonist then realizes he was careless and let the enemy set up 2 shots. The young woman remembers that a European boss wanted to buy her technology, but she refused. With his eyes fixed, our young man figures out the enemy's plan and prepares to act. He then yells for the young woman to be careful and pushes her down to protect her again. Sitting on the floor, the two recover from the shock, with the young woman still very frightened. Our guy then picks up a shard of glass from the floor and says he has a trick up his sleeve. Without wasting a moment, our boy runs toward the window with the glass shard in his hand. With incredible strength, he throws the piece of glass as if it were a knife. The shard hits the shooter in the neck, who wasn't expecting this surprise attack. Both assassins on the balcony taken down, the immediate danger has finally passed. Our young man then tells the girl she can get up because it's safe now. The young woman questions him about his identity, and he says she doesn't need to know who he is. She threatens him, saying she'll tell Nanan, but he asks her to be quiet. Our guy then warns that there's noise outside and that they need to stay quiet. Scared, the young woman asks if there's still someone else, and is terrified by the situation. She clings to him, and our boy calms her down, telling her not to panic and that he'll check it out. Outside, 3 goons appear, and one of them recognizes our young man. The leader of the goons then assumes that our young man is there to rob the place. At that moment, our guy appears coming down the stairs and greets them. Our guy then faces them with a smile and asks if they were all there to see him. The brute accuses him of getting involved with Boss Hao's woman and demands an explanation. Our young man then understands the situation and calmly asks what they want with him. With no more talk, the 3 goons charge with their swords drawn, ready to attack. But our boy is faster and lands a powerful kick to the first enemy's chin. He lands a solid blow to the chest of one of the goons. With a swift move, 2 are already on the ground, and only the leader remains standing. The brute is impressed and realizes the delivery driver is actually a martial artist. Annoyed, he refuses to believe he can be defeated by a simple delivery driver. The goon then attacks with his sword, but our young man easily dodges the blow. Our guy lands a precise kick. At that moment, the blonde girl appears on the stairs and sees the goon being defeated. Frightened, she screams into the phone while watching the chaos. The brute gets up and angrily yells at the girl to stop making noise. He then lunges forward and grabs the girl by the arm, using her as a hostage against our protagonist. The brute then threatens our protagonist, using the girl as a human shield. But our young man doesn't seem worried at all and challenges him to continue. As he walks, our guy challenges him, and the goon panics at the scene. The goon panics and yells for our young man to stop getting closer. In the blink of an eye, our protagonist vanishes. Suddenly, he's in front of the man. He stops the enemy's sword using just a single finger, effortlessly. The brute tries to move the sword but realizes it's impossible. Our boy then taunts him and asks why he doesn't just attack him already. Completely terrified, the goon is speechless at his power. With a simple flick, our young man shatters the blade into several pieces. The goon and the girl are in shock as they see the sword breaking in mid-air. Without wasting a moment, our guy grabs him by the neck and lifts him off the ground. Choking, the brute tries to save himself by saying he's from the Black Dragon Society. But our boy doesn't care and lands a hard slap on the enemy's head. The blow sends the goon flying and he lands on the ground, completely knocked out. Lying on the ground, the goon yells for our young man not to turn to a life of crime. Our protagonist ignores him and lands a powerful kick to his chest. The impact makes the brute spit out a stream of blood and scream in pain. The goon then begs our young man to stop and says he has important information. Our boy gives him 3 seconds and the enemy reveals that Boss Hao went after Sukyu. Our guy is shocked by the revelation and realizes the urgency of the situation. He kicks him again and asks why he didn't say that sooner. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and they hear the police identifying themselves outside. He then says he's going after Sukyu and asks the girl not to tell anyone he was there. 2 police officers enter the house and find the blonde young woman standing in the living room. One of the officers shows his badge and asks what happened. Outside, she explains that 3 armed men broke into her house. With that, the police officers cuff the 3 goons and take them to the station. An officer then informs the captain that they found 2 bodies across the street. The protagonist runs desperately to find Sukyu. At her house, Kyun Hao is already there. He says he tried to be calm before, but now he's going to use force. We then see Sukai telling the man to leave, but he says he's already sent people after the delivery driver. Lunges at Suki, screaming that he's going to end her life today. The ex-fiancé then grabs the girl, telling her she can scream all she wants, but no one's coming to save her. With a sinister smirk, he says the delivery guy can't even save himself and that he's about to take care of her, but just then a foot flies right into the man's face, cutting him off mid-threat. The attacker is sent flying, and we see that our hero has arrived just in the nick of time to save her. He glares at the guy and warns him, "If you dare touch my woman, you must have a death wish." Sprawled on the floor, the ex-fiancé asks if some measly delivery boy really has the guts to hit him and demands to know if he has any idea who his father is. Our protagonist fires back that he couldn't care less who his dad is, because he's about to get a hefty hospital bill for the son he raised. The ex-fiancé scrambles to his feet, boasting that his father is the richest man in the city and that our hero is going to seriously regret this. Out of patience, the young man lands a powerful kick to the aggressor's chest, who has no idea what just hit him. The villain is launched through the window, and our MC turns to the girl, telling her everything's alright now. He pulls her into a comforting hug, promising that as long as he's around, no one will ever lay a hand on her again. Meanwhile, the ex-fiancé is crawling away, cursing out the delivery guy and swearing this isn't over. Now that they've calmed down, our young man asks for the time, and the girl finds his sudden question a bit odd. He explains that he forgot about a meeting and invites her to come along. She immediately accepts without a second thought. Soon after, they arrive at a massive building where someone informs them that CEO Liu is already waiting in the conference room. They enter the room, and the young woman apologizes to CEO Liu for their delay. But the CEO is stunned when she sees our hero calling him young master, before he quickly cuts her off. He plays it off like they're old friends, and the girl beside him is surprised by this revelation. The Harris says it's quite a coincidence and invites the CEO to have a seat, who agrees, looking a bit flustered. With that, the girl suggests they get straight to the point and start discussing the project. Suddenly, her grandfather and a few other men burst into the room, saying they couldn't possibly miss out on such a huge project. The young woman is surprised by her grandfather's appearance, and CEO Liu greets him formally. The old man explains he got so excited about the meeting that he just had to rush over and join in. He then complains about our hero being there, but his granddaughter defends him, saying she has every right to bring him along. The girl's father appears furious and orders our young man to get up and serve the CEO some water. Her brother introduces himself to the CEO and declares that his sister's word means nothing in this company. The young woman tries to protest, but her grandfather tells her to shut her mouth and go get the water as she was told. Her uncle then chimes in, telling her to leave business matters to her brother, since she'll be getting married soon anyway. Our protagonist gets furious and asks why they're all trying to steal the project that was rightfully hers. But the relatives just tell him to shut up, asking who he thinks he is to meddle in their family affairs. Her brother scoffs, saying she not only found herself a delivery boy for a boyfriend, but even got knocked up by him. The grandfather then orders her to get that piece of trash out of his sight, but the young woman defends him, saying he earns an honest living. This infuriates the old man, who screams at his granddaughter for having the audacity to talk back to him. Then our hero steps up, stating that only Suki can handle this project, which just irritates the grandfather even more. He turns to the CEO and asks her to give the project to his fiancée, and the woman agrees without a moment's hesitation. The girl's father is confused by this turn of events and tries to argue that his daughter isn't capable of handling the project. The CEO cuts him off, informing him that her company will only negotiate with Suki, and if they don't accept that, she'll find another partner. The CEO adds that Suki is the only one in charge and that he isn't even qualified to be speaking with her. Speechless, the grandfather starts to break out in a cold sweat, realizing he's lost all power in this negotiation. Seeing they were about to lose the deal, her father quickly agrees to the terms, announcing the project will be his daughter's. With that settled, the CEO says she'll discuss the details with Suki, and that everyone else can leave the room. With no other choice, the relatives agree and begin to file out of the conference room, looking completely defeated. The brother complains to his father about the situation, but the older man tells him to shut his mouth immediately. Our hero then smirks and comments that they're a real bunch of clowns as the CEO hands the contract over to Suki. Outside, the brother is still fuming, asking his father how he could just let that girl take over the project. The father tells his son not to worry, because he already has a plan to deal with the situation. The man then asks the uncle to step aside for a moment and reveals that Suki is not his biological daughter. The uncle asks if he was cheated on, but the father explains that the young woman was adopted, calling her a disgrace. Hearing this revelation, the uncle gets curious and asks about the girl's real parents. He replies that he doesn't know, only that her father left behind a worthless pendant, before his son asks about the plan. The man then reveals his scheme. He's going to let the girl secure the project, only to snatch it away from her at the perfect moment. The son agrees to his father's wicked plan with a satisfied smirk on his face. With that, the younger brother asks about the plan, and the father says his uncle isn't a stranger, so he can tell him. He then reveals with a sly grin that he's going to let Suki handle the project, and then he'll swipe it from her. And just like that, the brother gets the picture. Far from there, in front of a building, our hero arrives to handle another matter. Our protagonist then finds two security guards and asks them for a favor. The chubbier guard then asks what such a sharp, dressed guy is doing there. Our boy then says he's there for a delivery, and the two security guards start laughing. The protagonist then asks what's so funny and if they're looking for a fight. The security guards then straighten up and say that President 2 is arriving. Our young man scoffs and says they're making a big fuss over some lady. Right after, President 2 appears and greets the security guards and our boy. The security guard then wonders if he heard correctly and if the president actually spoke to him. The guard says they were just talking and that he wants to give him some advice. The woman then calls our hero to get in the car. So the protagonist walks to the car and tells the guards he'll listen to their advice later. The two security guards are left in shock, watching our hero leave with the president. Inside the car, the woman says that the job seems to be going well for him. The protagonist says he's already scheduled everything for them to get the marriage certificate in the morning. She then reveals she's marrying him so her child won't be born without a father. And after the child is born, she'll give him $30,000 a month. Our hero then asks if this is her way of trying to be his sugar mama. He then says that $30,000 is way too little to support him, but she tells him not to get greedy. The woman then says that $30,000 is more than enough for a delivery guy. A short time later, they arrive at their destination. Our boy then says he's already memorized the way home, and the lady says that with her, he can go wherever he wants. Then they walk through the courtyard. Our protagonist's cell phone starts ringing. He answers and asks what the old man wants, and he says a shipment of goods was stolen by the Black Dragon Guild. Our boy then says he'll handle it before noon tomorrow, but the old man questions him about his wedding. Our young man gets furious and asks who leaked this information, and the old man says it was Lam Than Van. The old man then says that Lam Than Van's older sister will visit him tomorrow and hangs up the phone. Our protagonist is furious and yells that one day he'll get his revenge on that old geezer. After he hangs up, Suki asks what's wrong. He then calms down and tells her it's nothing. They enter the apartment. The lady then finds a card on the table and asks what it is. Our boy says it's just a card and asks if she's hungry because he's going to cook. She then sits on the couch and thinks that it's nice to have a husband who knows his way around the kitchen. The protagonist tells her to wait a bit, that he'll be done soon, and she thanks him for the effort. Then he grabs the pan to get started. She calmly watches him cook. The next day, they go to City Hall to make the marriage official. And now, officially married, they leave the building. Suki then asks if he has any deliveries to make, and he says no, but he has a meeting. She then gets angry and says they're family now and that he can do whatever he wants. The protagonist then says he needs to go now and that he had already told her about this. He then goes to a huge building and says this is the place for his meeting. The protagonist explains that the Black Dragon Guild was a local gang that went corporate, but they only do business like car reselling, debt collection, and loan sharking. So he's eager to see what they're really capable of. Upon arriving at the reception, one of the goons asks what our hero wants. Our boy then answers directly that he came to collect a debt. One of the guys scoffs and says their company offers that service and sends him to the second floor. Then the other member asks if our protagonist knows where he is and asks if he's tired of living. The long-haired goon tries a kick against the protagonist, who easily dodges it, leaving the goon wide open. He ends up falling to his knees on the floor. Then the protagonist quickly lands a kick to his face. Seeing this, the other guard charges at the protagonist. Our young man, like a capoeira master, lands a kick to the goon's face as well. The first goon who fell looks at the protagonist after being easily defeated. Our boy then asks if he can meet their boss now. Meanwhile, the boss is in his office being entertained by a young lady. He pours wine on his chest, and she begins to lick it off sensually. The boss then says that if she liked the wine, she should drink some more. Suddenly, the office door bursts open, and a goon enters, yelling that there's an intruder. The boss gets furious and starts yelling at the goon for entering without knocking. The goon tries to warn him that it's the protagonist, but is interrupted. Our hero throws a guild member into the boss's office, making him fall to the floor in front of the boss. The boss stands up furiously and asks who the protagonist is and how he dares invade his territory. Our boy then throws a card in his direction. The boss looks at the card, which is now stuck quivering in his desk. He then despairs and wonders if that's really the black card of the Shiflao Guild. The goon is then shocked and asks what the Shiflao Guild is. Our protagonist says he's surprised he's heard of the guild. The boss then becomes terrified, throws his gun on the floor, and completely changes his posture with the protagonist. On his knees, he says that even though the protagonist has stepped away from the underworld, he's still a legend. The boss starts to suck up to the protagonist. Our boy then says he heard that he stole a shipment. Trembling with no choice, the man says he will return what was stolen, but then he tries to grab his gun. Our protagonist then says that if he wants to settle things that way, that's fine. But it was a trick. He points the gun at the protagonist, threatening to shoot. Our boy then quickly flicks his cigarette towards the gun. The cigarette hits the weapon, making it change the direction of the shot. Our hero then reveals that he hates having guns pointed at him. He uses the black card to put an end to the guild leader. Deadly slice across the man's neck. The woman screams in terror upon seeing the lifeless boss on the floor. The goon is in shock, wondering if his leader is really gone. Suddenly, all the guild members enter the room and see the boss's body on the floor. Everyone is shocked to see what happened. Our boy then gives them two choices: either they hand over the cargo, or they pass away. The goon then reveals that the cargo had nothing to do with him and decides to follow the protagonist. Our hero then tells him to take him to the stolen goods. Outside the Black Dragon Guild building, an old acquaintance of ours appears. His son warns him to be careful, but the furious father says he's going to finish the protagonist today. Lam Thanvan's father yells at the entrance that he came to see the boss of the Black Dragon Guild. He's willing to pay any amount for the boss to take out a delivery guy. Inside the office, the former goon introduces himself as the new leader to the other members. But the old man enters the room, yelling for the old boss. He then asks where the guild leader is. Lam Thanvan's father says he's not there to talk to him, but to the old boss, but the new leader interrupts him. The old man then offers 5 million for them to take care of a delivery guy, and the new boss is interested and asks who it is. With a look of rage, Lam Thanvan's father says he wants them to take out the protagonist. The new boss scoffs and wonders if the old man is messing with him in his own territory. The man says he's not kidding, and the protagonist left him like this and stole his woman and that he wants revenge. The boss laughs at the situation and says he barely took over the guild and a big ticket job just falls into his lap. He tells the old man not to worry and that he'll send some men to handle it right now. Then he tells his goons to call for backup and get ready. Meanwhile, somewhere else, our hero's friends are worried about him. Our boy then says he already knows what's going on and is going to handle the situation. His friends say goodbye and wish him good luck. Our protagonist then heads towards his next objective. Suddenly, a black van cuts off our hero's path on purpose. Inside it is Lam Thanvan's father, ready to get his revenge on the protagonist. Our boy then gets off his bike and says he's surprised he found him so quickly. With a pipe in his hand, Lam Thanvan's father yells that he's going to make our hero kneel and beg for his life. The old man then runs towards the protagonist to attack him but misses the first swing. But in a humiliating way, the protagonist flicks his cigarette right into the old man's mouth. Taking advantage of the open guard, he lands a knee to the man's stomach. And to finish it off, he delivers a blow to the man's back. Fall to his knees on the ground. The old man starts complaining, saying that he paid for the goons to take out the protagonist. Suddenly, the men from the Black Dragon Guild appear behind the protagonist. The guild leader says he wants to see how tough delivery guys are these days. Lam Thanvan's father tells them not to finish the protagonist quickly and to make him suffer. The guild leader then approaches and puts his hand on our hero's shoulder. He then looks at the protagonist's face and is completely terrified. Our boy then slaps him across the face, reprimanding him. The protagonist asks what happened to him in such a short time. The guild leader panics and says he didn't know it was our protagonist. Lamthamvan's father gets furious and wonders why the guild leader is defending the protagonist. Leader then gets angry and lands a kick to the old man's face. The man falls to the ground. The protagonist steps on the chest of the man lying down and tells him not to bother him anymore. The old man is terrified by the situation and immediately shuts up. Our protagonist warns him to stay away from his girlfriend because she's not his. Then our boy says goodbye to the guild members and leaves on his bike. The old man gets up furiously and starts yelling that they couldn't even handle a simple delivery guy. The guild leader says that our protagonist is not someone they can mess with. Our hero then arrives at an old building. He then says that the place is a bit creepy. Our boy grabs the delivery and heads towards the apartment door. He then knocks on the door and waits for it to be answered. The door opens and a strange-looking man answers it, and our hero. But then something happens that catches their attention inside the apartment. A woman screams for help desperately from the back of the apartment. Then another man appears and strikes her hard, telling her to shut up. The strange resident tries to play off the situation, but our protagonist asks about the woman. The man slams the door in our hero's face, and his accomplice suggests taking him out. Our boy is intrigued and wonders if it was just a coincidence. But the randoms decide to finish off the protagonist and open the door again to get him. But the protagonist is fast, and with one kick, he sends the man to the floor. Our boy then says that he was just trying to deliver food, but always ends up getting into trouble. The accomplice is shocked and wonders if our hero is some kind of martial artist. But he runs towards the protagonist to attack him with his blade. But our hero grabs his hand with ease and asks what they were doing. Without any difficulty, he lands an uppercut to the man's chin. He falls on top of the other random. Our boy then kicks down the bedroom door. He then looks inside the room and sees something surprising. A woman tied to the begs our protagonist for help. Our hero approaches her and starts to untee the ropes. He then hands his jacket to the lady to cover herself. Our boy tells her not to worry because he's already called the police and her family will be here soon. The protagonist then grabs a rope to tie up the kidnappers. The two men are tied up on the floor, and our protagonist says that today they will pay for their sins. The woman then thanks him and introduces herself as Yin Long and is surprised that he took care of the two men by himself. Suddenly, the protagonist's cell phone rings and she hands it to him to answer. Then he takes her cell phone and answers the call, and on the other end of the line, someone is furious with him. The person on the phone starts yelling at our hero, and he seems scared. Our protagonist gets annoyed because the person on the other end hung up on him. Suddenly, Yin Long's father appears with some police officers. The woman then runs to hug her father. He then hugs her and asks if she's okay and if she was hurt. Yin Long says no and points to our hero, saying that he was the one who saved her. Our boy tells the police officers to arrest the two criminals. The old man thanks our protagonist for saving his daughter and asks if he was the one who defeated the two men. Yin Long's father says he didn't expect a delivery guy to be so strong. The old man introduces himself as Yin Long and gives our hero a business card as a thank you. Our boy takes the card and realizes the man is from the White Tiger Academy. Our protagonist thanks him and says goodbye as he has more things to do. The old man says it would be great if he could recruit our hero for his academy. Our boy then goes down to the street and heads towards his motorcycle. He then says that delivering food ends up causing a lot of trouble. Our hero gets on his bike and rides away. Then we see a commercial building. Inside the building, a man tries to console Suki from the company called Nam Nam. Suki thanks the man but says the company already has a plan and doesn't need his help. The man confesses his feelings to Suki, but she asks him to back off. He then grabs Suki's arm and insists that she be with him. She gets angry and slaps him across the face, saying she's already married and pregnant. The man is shocked by the news and can't believe it. Suddenly, our protagonist enters the room and says it looks like he has some rivals. The man is surprised to see our hero and asks who he is. She then says that he is her husband. Here is happy to be called Kuzbin by Suki. He can't believe he's being rejected. Our protagonist then tells him to leave and not to interrupt their lunch. Then they enter the office. The man is furious and says he won't give up on her so easily. Our hero opens the delivery and says that his rival is pretty weak. She explains that they don't have feelings, which is why the other guy was never a real rival for our boy. Our hero cracks a smirk, totally getting what she was trying to say. With that, she grabs her chopsticks to start digging into the meal our guy prepared for her. But out of nowhere, he grabs one of the bento boxes and starts closing it right in front of her. Shocked by his move, she asks what in the world he's doing with her food. She then yells that he's the one who got her pregnant, so he's pretty much obligated to feed her. After taking a few bites, she has to admit, his cooking is actually really good. She asks why he even works as a delivery guy, and he says that not everyone is worthy of his cooking. The Harris then gives him a suspicious look and asks if he's ever cooked for other women before. He claims he's only ever cooked for her, but clarifies it was actually for their son, which just gets her all riled up. So, she changes the subject and asks why he's not wearing his work uniform. With a smile, our hero explains that he lent his jacket to some girl he rescued earlier. In a jealous fit, she kicks him out of her office and tells him to go find this so-called girl he helped. From outside, our hero yells back that pregnant women aren't supposed to get angry. But she's not having any of it and just tells him to get lost and leave her office for good. Back in her office, she's fuming about what happened and grabs her phone with an angry look on her face. But he sends a text telling her to eat well, because he's going to go work hard for their son. With a faint smile, she invites him to have dinner at her house, in his capacity as the baby's father. Our hero reads the message and with a smile, calls her stubborn. He then thinks to himself that she could have just called him her husband instead of the baby's father. With that settled, our main character hops on his motorcycle and heads to his next destination. He speeds through the city streets so he won't be late for the family dinner. Later that night, he arrives at the luxurious mansion of his wife's family. As they walk in, her mother sees him and furiously asks why her daughter brought him back. The young woman then reveals that they got married, and that this man is now her husband. Her mother is completely floored and asks if she really married a delivery boy. She replies firmly, saying that she knows exactly what she's doing with her life. Her father then cuts into the argument, telling them to stop fighting during dinner. At that moment, her brother welcomes our hero and invites him to take a seat at the table. The father tells his daughter to go get changed, and the couple heads upstairs under the watchful eyes of their relatives. Our guy's new mother-in-law argues with her son, questioning why they let her marry such a piece of trash. With a sly grin, the brother reveals he has a plan to humiliate our hero tonight. A little while later, a heavy-set man arrives and the young woman's parents invite him to sit at the table. The newcomer asks what the rush was, and the brother says he's prepared a surprise for him. Just then, our couple comes down the stairs, and the brother wonders why the heck he's there. The strange guest scolds the young woman, and she questions his presence at a family dinner. Her mother, with a fake smile, tells her daughter to sit next to the unwanted guest. The couple notices there's only one empty chair, and the girl asks why a seat is missing at the table. Her mother screams that the family table isn't for just anyone to sit down and eat with them. Our hero then questions why the other guy gets to sit, and the mother says he doesn't compare to their guest. The father then gets angry and says that whoever doesn't have a seat can just eat squatting in the corner of the room. Seeing the situation, the young woman tells her husband to take the seat, saying she'll stand in his place. Her father slams his hand on the table, furious, and orders his daughter to sit next to the other man. Our hero shoots a death glare at the guest, who starts breaking out in a cold sweat from fear. Completely terrified, the man stands up and offers his seat to our protagonist. The girl's mother is totally confused and says the guest doesn't need to give up his seat for that kind of person. But the man insists, saying that if our hero isn't worthy of their table, then he's even less worthy. Once seated, our hero calls his wife over to sit as well, since she's pregnant and can't be standing. He then serves his wife some food, telling her to eat well, leaving the entire family baffled by the scene. Seeing how things are going, her brother approaches the guest and says he has a surprise for him. Wang Han tells Suki to ignore everyone else and just enjoy dinner as he offers her some wine. Just then, an older man reveals to his accomplice that he slipped something into our hero's drink. But his partner gets all bent out of shape, yelling and asking if he was trying to drag him down with this harebrained scheme too. Seeing they were both about to drink, the older man makes a dash for it, yelling at them not to drink the spiked wine. Suki is completely floored by this revelation, and the old guy points out the culprit, who tries to weasel his way out of the accusation. Suki then shoots up from the table in a flash. In one swift move, she hurls the wine in the guy's face, calling him a shameless pig for what he tried to pull. Soaked in wine, the man is just frozen, totally speechless. Our hero, now seeing red, gets up from his chair to teach this cocky jerk a lesson. He then lands a solid punch right in the guy's mug with all his might. With the man on the ground, our protagonist warns that nobody gets to lay a hand on his woman. After the whole fiasco, she says the place is just gross, and the two finally decide to bail. A moment later, the attacker's parents show up to help their son, who's still dazed on the floor. Now inside the car, Suki asks if he's not going to explain what in the world just happened. He plays dumb, but she keeps at it, asking why that other guy was so terrified of him. With a smirk, he says some people are just stubborn and need to be roughed up a little to learn some manners. Suki then calls him out for bragging again and points out that with his social standing, marrying her is going to be a tough sell. He then replies that the rules at his house are way more intense. Just then, Wang Han's phone buzzes. He glances at the screen and goes into full panic mode, thinking he's in some seriously hot water now. A message on the screen shows a woman ordering him to show up in 10 minutes. And then we see a massive building. As the two walk toward the entrance, Suki asks who this person could possibly be that freaks him out so much. Wang Han tells her to just zip it because his family has a ton of rules, which she thinks is completely over the top. He warns her one more time to keep quiet and not say anything reckless when they get there, so she doesn't stir up any trouble. When they step into the apartment, they come face to face with a woman with short hair sitting on the couch. Our protagonist greets her, all smiles and cheer, saying how much he's missed her. We then see the woman who contacted him, smoking a cigarette with a dead, serious expression and an intimidating glare. Without missing a beat, she gives our guy a stone-cold look and simply orders him to kneel before her. To Suki's utter shock, our hero obeys instantly and gets on his knees. The woman, with the same commanding tone, then orders Suki to kneel as well. Our hero, still on his knees, explains that his partner is pregnant and therefore can't kneel. Blindsided by the news, the woman grabs Suki's arm and grills her about this supposed pregnancy. After sizing Suki up, she comes to a conclusion and clicks her tongue in annoyance. She springs up and attacks our boy with a high kick, accusing him of picking up some nasty habits overseas. Sprawled out on the floor, our hero tries to talk to her, but the pain from the hit makes it hard to get the words out. The woman then says he's going to get what's coming to him first, and then they'll talk about what happened. Suki jumps in front of her man with her arms spread wide and yells for the other woman not to lay another finger on him. Suki then says she doesn't know their house rules, but beating up on him for no reason is totally out of line. The woman explains that the rules are simple, so Suki asks which one Wang Han broke. She then lists them off, getting married without telling them, getting her pregnant beforehand, and choosing an unworthy partner. Suki is furious at being called unworthy and asks who exactly would be the ideal woman for her brother. Our guy's sister then rattles off a list of several rich and powerful women the family had arranged for him, all of whom he rejected. Our hero then begs his sister not to provoke Suki, reminding her that she's expecting a child. But Suki isn't having any of it and tells the woman to cut the crap. With a smug look, Suki says she's figured it out, they're both just a couple of children. She accuses him of making up the whole story about powerful families just to show off for her. He tries to deny it, but Suki calls him immature, says she doesn't want her child born into this mess, and storms out. As she walks away, the protagonist yells for her not to go. Wang Han tries to go after Suki, but his sister stops him, telling him not to follow her. She explains that the girl needs some time to cool off and reveals she has a mission for him from their father. The sister shows him an object and says it belongs to a girl with whom he has a marriage contract. The protagonist is baffled and questions the arranged marriage since he's already planning to marry someone else. The woman insists it's an order from their father and he must obey, so our guy reluctantly agrees to look for this girl. We see Suki's house. Suki and her friend are talking about the situation, and Suki is still reeling from our hero's behavior. She can't believe that she, such a pure maiden, fell for a simple delivery guy. Nanan defends the protagonist, saying that if any of this is true, his identity is anything but simple. Suki then asks why she's sticking up for the delivery guy, and Nanan gets all flustered. Suki then accuses her of hiding something, which Nanan nervously denies. The redhead then starts tickling her friend, calling her a little sneak for being suspicious. Nanan then remembers the big shot she was supposed to meet, and her friend promises to get his contact info. Just then, there's a knock at the door, and they wonder who it could be. Opening the door, Nanan finds Lam Can and asks what he's doing there. Lam Can offers to help, saying he knows the big shot that Nanan wants to meet. She's surprised and asks if he really knows the company's billionaire investor. Suki gets excited about the idea, and Lam Can confirms he can take Nanan to him. The next day, our hero is frustrated because Suki isn't answering his calls. As he's smoking a cigarette, his phone buzzes. He grabs his phone, thinking it's Suki, but realizes the message isn't from her. A young woman messages that she washed his shirt, but our protagonist just replies for her to throw it out. He then wonders how he's supposed to find the person his sister sent him after. At that moment, the phone rings, and he answers it. The protagonist is in shock when he learns that an acquaintance of his nearly drowned after saving some people. Elsewhere, the girl from the text message is sad that he doesn't even want his shirt back. She then realizes she probably won't be able to meet him again, and feels pretty down about it. Just then, her father walks into the room and asks why she looks so gloomy. The old man says he knocked, and she must have something on her mind. He then informs her that the next day is a young master's birthday, and she needs to go in his place. The father explains that the party is to celebrate the fact the guy survived a drowning incident, but she refuses to go. But the older man says he was just pulling her leg and asks if she spoke to the delivery guy. The girl confirms she managed to contact the protagonist, but he didn't want the shirt back. With a thoughtful expression, her father sighs and says it seems like they just weren't meant to be.